Hi there, I'm Partha once again. Welcome back to my home, my study, my real study. This is actually where I do all my experiments. I know I need to work on my background. It looks like those branches are actually growing from the back of my head. So welcome to the world of fake backgrounds. You know, with the flick of a finger, I can change it. I'm in Goa now. I'm in London, I think. Where am I? I'm New York. Okay. Where else do I want to go today? Let's see. I'm in the office now. Okay, I'm back. So I can be anywhere, you know. Now, besides the fact that virtual backgrounds allow you to hide away the mess in our homes, I think the good thing is that they also have become popular because there is growing acceptability amongst clients that it is really the quality of the work which matters most. It does not really matter where it is getting done. So for the last 3 years, I have been working from here and also from here, from here, from here, from here as well, from here, from here, and from here as well. I know, by the way, the grass is real. And our clients don't really seem to be too bothered about where I'm working from. You may have been doing this too, especially over the last 6 months, but there has been a bunch of professionals who have been working like this effectively for the last 25 years or so. Now, Advanced Workplace Associates, or AWA, is a workplace transformation consultancy practice that has been working very effectively with associates, working remotely across the globe. I'm one of them. Now, Karen Plum, who is the head of research and development of AWA, has been a part of the AWA team for a very, very long time. In the third episode of this series, Karen is going to speak with us today about how the AWA team has not only survived, but actually thrived during the lockdown, and how years of remotely working has demonstrated that remote working can work well too, if not better than the traditional way of actually going to office and working. She'll speak for about 10 minutes and will then answer your questions. Please type in your questions in the comment section. So without further ado, I, with the real background now, present to you once again Karen Plum. Over to you, Karen.
Thanks very much, Partha. It was a great introduction. Thanks very much for that. So welcome, everybody. I'm just going to go ahead and share some slides with you. Welcome to this session, as Partha said, on the AWA story. My name's Karen Plum, and I've been with AWA a little over 22 years now, I think, so quite a long time out of its nearly 30-year history. And my focus is on research and development, and so I'm going to be sharing some highlights from some of our research with you today and applying that to the AWA story, so the way AWA works with its associates and clients, which is all very linked into our research. So in this probably just a little over a 10-minute presentation, I'm going to give you just a little bit of AWA's background, talk about science behind our approach, talk a little bit about how we have grown and how we thrive working virtually from each other, particularly over this COVID period, and leave you with a thought about keeping a growth mindset. So let's get started, and I'll share with you that the way AWA started back in 1992 was the coming together of three gentlemen that you see in my picture, a statistician, an architect, and an IT expert, Andrew Wes and Graham, who were the founders of AWA, focusing on trying to provide a new type of workplace consultancy, really focused on people and how we get the best out of people in the workplace, and how we manage the workplace in a different way to get the most out of it. We are very much guided by the research that we've done, and we have this sort of constant thirst for more information and sharing with people in pursuit of changing this world of work for the better, and that's become even more important during this period since the COVID pandemic started. We very much do try to practice what we preach. We set up the organisation all those years ago with no permanent office. We would come together in an office space when we needed to, but we weren't based there. The idea was to have very minimal infrastructure and costs so that we could be flexible and adapt to changing circumstances. Consultancy is famously peaks and troughs in terms of business. So we have a model where most of our associates are self-employed. We have a very flat structure, so we very much try to avoid hierarchy and power distance between people. And we have a number of different disciplines within the team, as you can see on my slide. From very modest beginnings with those first few people that set up AWA, we've grown over the years, and in fact over the last 5 years we've probably doubled in size, and we now have representation across a good parts of the globe, as you can see. Biggest concentration in the UK and Europe, as you might expect with a UK-based company, but we've grown quite rapidly in North America particularly, and those other continents, as you can see, South America, Australia, and the Far East as well. So the science that we speak about really comes from research that we've done with the Centre for Evidence-Based Management. They are a global network of academics who preach and teach the use of evidence in decision making and management. And so we're really trying to follow that guidance very closely to bring a lot of evidence into the work that we do and the things that we do with our clients. Just at a high level, what we're doing is looking at existing research. So we're not conducting new research, but looking at academic research carried out over many years. Looking to answer particular questions that we're interested in. So this particular piece of research we're looking at was the research on virtual workforces, and we uncovered close on an evidence base of 750 studies. So this is very robust. The methodology of all studies included has been peer reviewed, and the methodology is tested against our criteria before it's included in our research results. So it's worth paying attention to. And just briefly, for those of you that haven't taken part in any of the other of these 10-minute talks that we've done recently, this most recent piece of research is about team performance and what contributes to the performance of teams. And we found that there were 6 factors that are very strongly correlated with the performance of teams. Knowledge work teams particularly, and they're shown on my diagram here, all the way from social cohesion, so the cohesiveness of the team, how well we work together, how well we know each other, all the way around the diagram to trust, which very much underpins all of those other factors. And this is very important to us, and it guides what we do within our own organisation as well as what we're doing with clients and with members of our Advanced Workplace Institute. So in terms of AWA, we do, as I say, try to live by the 6 factors in everything that we're doing. And just to give you perhaps a little bit of an idea of the sorts of things that we do to really respect these 6 factors and to weave them into our activities. I'm just going to run through a few of the things that we do. So on our project work, we use Microsoft Teams, so that keeps us connected, gives us a place to put information, to have like an audit trail of activities on the project, to store our documents confidentially, and to chat and exchange information whilst the project's going on. We also use Zoom in workshops. I think most people are using Zoom or something like it these days. We also use a tool called Mentimeter, which is a polling tool which makes our workshops nicely interactive for the people taking part. So what else do we do? With the team, we have a couple of different activities. We call them, one is AWA days. Pretty much half days these days. We used to come together with the team, and then we would spend the day together. But now we're doing shorter sessions because we're doing them online. But we come together, we share updates on what's happening with projects, share concluded projects, what did we learn. We share new tools, we catch up with each other. And that helps us socially, helps us to connect with each other. We share a lot of information. We also run what we call some guru sessions, and those are just 1-hour exercises which we make very interactive, where we help people to understand a bit more about some of our new tools, perhaps share some research, look more deeply into some of the topics in this model, for example, to help people to contextualize the information that we have available and think and talk about how they might use that in their project work. Other things that we're doing, we have what we call in the spotlight sessions, where we have a 10 or 15-minute interview with each member of the team, talking about their background and things like what they do for fun, what their skills and expertise are, and how we get the best out of them. Again, this is all to do with social cohesion, building trust and confidence in each other by getting to know each other through different means. So those are a number of things that we do and have done over the years, to be honest. We did all of this, well, the vast majority of it before the COVID pandemic struck and caused a lot of our associates not to be able to go and work on site with their clients. So they have been at home a lot more. But we have been building up this way of doing things for some years because obviously we've been operating as a virtual business since the beginning. And indeed, all the events that we run online, and indeed the ones that we ran in person, are all designed to make sure that we pay attention to the 6 factors. So we will build in some social time. We'll be sharing information, encouraging people to share their expertise with other people, where we have external people sometimes engaging with us to give us that sort of different perspective. So we're always thinking about how do we reflect the 6 factors when we do these things. One big example was our Knowledge Festival, which we had scheduled for the end of March this year. We were going to be coming together in London. Everybody was flying in from around the world, and we were very excited about it. We were going to be spending 4 days together. But of course, then the pandemic hit and nobody could travel. So we had to very quickly convert this to an online format. Sadly, our managing director, Andrew Mawson, and his wife weren't able to join us because they were down with the virus, very sadly. And they were quite poorly, but I believe they're fine now. But we brought the team together. We ran a number of activities over the 4 days that we had planned. They were different. They were shorter. We made them very interactive. And we used it as an opportunity for people, particularly some of the newer people who had joined us earlier on this year, to get to know other members of the team. And we do things like we find out how they are. So we ask the question, this was using Mentimeter, and we asked people, how are you feeling right now? What's going on? Obviously, this was early days of the pandemic, so people were feeling quite worried, naturally, and uncertain about the future. But they were also very pleased to be coming together as a group and as a team, and found the whole thing very supportive. So during this festival, there were a number of different focuses that we had, again, to make sure that we were building and strengthening and sustaining the 6 factors. So different social aspects, some developmental where people could learn more about tools and processes, and other people's skills and expertise. We also introduced some new tools, and we did a lot of learning by doing. So we allowed people to do some experimentation with those tools. And all the while, they're getting to know each other better. Talking of which, we also set up a spreadsheet. I've blanked out all of our names on this, but we had a grid here of who knows who. So if you knew somebody well, you put a green square against their name. If you knew them but not that well, it was orange, and otherwise you left it white. And this was one of the early versions of the feedback that we had, and it helped people to recognize how many folks there were in the team, and to be able to reach out to some of those others in order to connect and get to know them better. So since the pandemic struck, we have obviously a lot of our colleagues have been more at home than they would otherwise have been, and have been needing to adapt essentially in delivering projects wholly online rather than going to see their clients. So we very much focused on these 3 of the 6 factors. Trust, cohesion, and information sharing, that we know can be damaged when people do work apart a lot of the time and don't have those opportunities to come together. But we have also taken some time to refresh our vision, and we did a really excellent group exercise run by one of my colleagues, Lisa Whited, which really helped us to reinforce our vision and get our goals really clear within the business. So that was a really worthwhile activity. So finally, it has been a challenging time. We were perhaps better set up for it than a lot of organizations, but we still had to make changes. We had to look at ourselves and the way we were doing things. And it's really established for me that we do have a growth mindset in AWA. We see those challenges and we rise to them. We look for ways to not to go back, but to go forwards and to keep developing and improving. And I would counsel everyone to try to adopt that growth mindset, because I think it's really, really productive. So that's all from me for now, Partha. And I guess, well, I'm hoping we have some questions.
Thank you so much, Karen. I think that sounded like a classic case of practice what you preach, the way you are. Sorry. So, everyone who is watching this on YouTube or Facebook, I'd like to request you to please type in your questions in the comments section, and I'll point them to Karen. I'm looking at 2, 3 screens, but I'll try my best to actually get all those questions in place. No, but before we move along, Karen, I actually wanted to ask you in the sense like you mentioned that despite the AWA team having worked remotely for so many years, you still had to bring about changes. I mean, what were some of these really on ground big changes that you had to do?
Well, I guess it was about converting a lot of our materials, so sort of workshop formats and things like that, which we were used to delivering in person. And they were very much designed around being together with a group of people and knowing how you would organize that group and how they would interact and how you would break them up, and understanding the group dynamics when you're together with people in a workshop. We had to take some of those in fact, all of the workshop formats and reimagine them. So how is this going to work virtually? Our practice over the years has been, yes, we are a virtual organization, but we go to the clients. And that's what they expect, and that's the thinking is that those are the best conditions for doing workshops is to be together with people. But when you can't do that, you have to find a different way to do it. And so you can't just take the materials you have and say, well, okay, we'll just show them the slides remotely. You have to think about, what are the group dynamics going to be like when people aren't together? So they're all dialing in via a Zoom call. Yes, we're going to break them into breakout groups, but how's that going to work? What are the exercises we should set them? How is that really going to be the best experience for them? So it took us a bit of time to think through those materials and those workshop formats to redesign them and to test them. And we did some testing on our own team, in fact, to make sure that they worked smoothly. So that was one way that we were adapting. Another way, I think, was that actually for me, because I do less on-site client work, at least I was doing that before COVID happened, I would spend a lot of time trying to chase down times in people's calendars because they were all, they were traveling or they were off with their clients or whatever. And suddenly my associates, my colleagues, were a lot more accessible to me. So actually it allowed us to do some of that redesigning work much more quickly because we could sort of put that time together and really bring a lot of brains together virtually, because again, we didn't need to get together in order to do this, so that we could really hit the ground running once we were ready to start doing those activities.
Right. I know you've not been facing clients, but we have a question from somebody, I think, who's always been a client-facing kind of a person, Mr. Andrew Mawson. He's asking, can you really replace face-to-face in the same space dialogue?
Sorry, say that again. Can you replace the face-to-face?
Can you replace face-to-face in the same space dialogue?
Well, of course, if you're thinking about a continuum of what's the best type of interaction through to what's really not a very effective level of interaction, being together face-to-face, of course, is ultimately what you would like to do. It gives you a very rich tapestry of information about the person that you're engaging with. But I think in fact, we've just today put up another blog about managing people that you can't see. And I likened it to having a blindfold on. When one sense is taken away or removed from you, then you have to rely on some other ones. So you have to be really an active listener. You have to look out for signs of how people are, and be much more empathetic and much more curious and interested in the person that you're interacting with. So I think there are definitely ways that you can do this, and without having to be face to face in the same space, recognizing it's not ideal, but certainly the more practice we have and the more effort we put in, I think the better we get at it.
Okay, thanks. I hope that that was a
Let's
satisfying.
hope he's happy with that.
Okay, we have another question from Manish. Manish is asking, what about efficiency of your employees after pandemic, and how and are they motivated to work more? So he's probably asking about efficiency and productivity levels. Are they better, or have you been able to measure them? Any thoughts on that, Karen?
Well, all the research that we've done has shown that measuring the productivity of people like our associate group is very difficult. You know, what are we going to measure? The number of projects they've completed, the number of reports they got in on time. You know, this is really about assessing quality. The quality of outputs. And I don't think that we've noticed a great difference or certainly no deterioration in what people have been doing. I think the quality of what we've delivered has remained high. Obviously, we've had to adapt to do things differently. But I think when you've got a motivated group of people who are very focused under any circumstances on delivering things effectively for their clients, then they're going to go the extra mile. They're actually going to be demonstrating to their clients, look, we can do this, you can do it. You know, a lot of their clients are reevaluating the way they're working now and the way they might work in the future. And although we've never sort of promoted the way we work to our clients because we figure it's good for us. It's not necessarily good for you. You might not be ready for it at this stage in your development. But given a lockdown situation, lots of people have had to really try to examine, is this something that we could do? So there was a lot we could share. In all of the workshops we ran for them, we were demonstrating at the same time, look, you guys can do this. It's not difficult, it's not rocket science, and we can help you to do this stuff. So I think but we also recognised that because we couldn't be together with the sort of frequency that we were used to, we really had to put some other things in place. So we're doing more guru sessions. We're having more online training. We're more one-to-ones and catch-ups to try to stay connected with people.
And does it also mean that people are actually working more now, like nonstop? There is no end time or start time during the day?
I don't get the sense that that's the case. I think some people are really busy because a number of projects have been landed over the last 6 months, which is wonderful, and it is making them very busy. But in a sense, it's busy in a different way. So one of my colleagues talks about, she would spend a good proportion of her time flying to different countries to run projects or to deliver workshops, and now she's not having to do that, so she gets all of that time back. Yes, of course, she might have done some work on the plane or on the train or whatever before, but this is a different mix, and I think some people probably have found it more difficult to switch off. They've also had lots of other challenges of having children and partners at home, and so they haven't had a workspace to themselves. So there have been lots of different balls to juggle, if you like. So I think, as ever, it's a mixture. But we do try to practice what we preach in the sense that we don't expect people to be on all of the time. We're used to working asynchronously, so the tools we use allow us to communicate with each other when we can, but it doesn't demand immediate response. And we're always very respectful of each other's calendars. We have people on the west coast of America, we have you in India, we have associate in Australia. So we're always trying to find the right time to engage and not disrupt each other's time too much.
Yeah, thanks, Karen. We have Professor Cyril Cresto back with us. Welcome back, Professor. I think he's becoming a regular feature in our events. So
Very good.
He's actually asking a question related to education, but I think the kind of things that we are doing this particular session and the other workshops that we do, I think increasingly there's a very thin line, I think, between education and the kind of things that consultants are doing these days. At least in terms of the way it is being delivered, there's a lot of similarity, and I think to that extent, I think there is this question is also relevant to, I think, what people like us also do, and he's asking that how do you integrate different tools like text, audio, video, quiz, etc., to make the delivery of these sessions more interesting? Any tips on that, Karen?
I think when we're planning a workshop session, obviously, as with any workshop or activity, you start off with the purpose. What is it we're really trying to achieve with this activity, and what are the best ways to capture people's interest and imagination, and really allow them to connect with each other and almost to teach themselves, if you like. So for me, the best sessions are where we say very little, but we provide people with the right sorts of tools so that they can learn for themselves and they can learn together as a group. And so when we're designing tools, and the tools could be, we've gamified some of our workshops. So we've got sort of like a virtual board game, if you like, so like virtual Monopoly, and you can move things around on the screen. We would use shared PowerPoint or Google Docs to do that, so that you put people into a breakout group in Zoom and give them access to a shared document and give them the right scenario to work on, so that they can bring their knowledge and their ideas into the whole scenario. It's no good us telling them and showing how clever we are by trying to tell them things and trying to force knowledge on them. If we give them the right environment and help them to learn through the questions we ask them. So we would often give them questions that they could ask each other and discuss, and embedded in the question is the information that we want them to have. So we're very much trying to make all of those tools the learning in itself, if you like. So we would use breakout groups. We're very much proponents of, as I say, learning by doing, and for people to come up with their own solutions, because those are the ones that they will most readily buy into.
Right. Yeah. How have clients actually adapted to these? And I know, AWA has been doing this for many, many years, but not for every client. And has this,
No, and not online.
yeah.
Yes, and some of those workshop, the gamified workshops started off life as physical tools. So there is a board and there are stacks of cards. I probably should have got some out of my cupboard to show you. And people would move those cards around and use them as collateral, in the discussions that they were having, because the essence of learning has stayed the same. It's just the medium through which the learning is taking place. And I suppose it's really forced us to consider how much can we expect people to take on board in a 2-hour workshop, and is that really going to leverage behavioural change? And so we try to make our programs very much development programs. So it's not just a come to the workshop and you'll know everything. It's come to the workshop, come up with some ideas, go away, try those out, come back in a few weeks' time, let's talk about them some more, refine them, share them, etc., so that you're starting to embed that process of behavioral change, because it's the change that our business is all about, is helping people to make those changes.
Right. Yeah. I wish I could go on, but unfortunately, believe it or not, Karen, we've actually come to the end of our half an hour that we promised.
Oh dear. Oh well.
Yeah, so ladies and gentlemen, I think that's all the time we have this evening. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me. That's my email address that you see there. And we will actually be back with Karen in about 3 weeks' time, on 20th of October, I think, with a session on cognitive fitness.
Yeah.
We'll send you emails around that as well. Meanwhile, if anybody else would like to, do these sessions, please reach out to me, and we'll be happy to host you. And I think that's about it. Thank you so much for joining in this evening, this morning, this afternoon, wherever you are. And thank you once again, Karen.
It's my pleasure, and thanks everybody for joining us.
Bye for now.